Welcome back to our YouTube channel. Today, we're diving deep into the high-octane world of Chevy muscle cars, exploring the most powerful and iconic models they've ever built. Now, you might have heard folks saying that Chevrolet started the whole muscle car craze, but the consensus is it was actually John DeLorean, with his revolutionary design of the Pontiac GTO, who kick-started this thrilling chapter in automotive history. DeLorean was the visionary who understood that the youth of the time yearned for something different, something more exhilarating than their parents' cars. And so, he crammed a beastly V8 engine into a Pontiac Lemons, and voila! The muscle car was born, all thanks to the GTO, a model that even today remains one of the most affordable in the muscle car realm. But hey, we're not here to downplay Chevrolet's role in this story. Far from it. Chevy has crafted some truly legendary muscle cars, and their contributions from the swinging 60s to the present day have been crucial in shaping the muscle car revolution. With so many powerful Chevy models to consider, it's a real challenge to single out the ones that left the most significant tire tracks on the muscle car battleground. But we love a challenge, so we've put together a list for you. Stay tuned as we rev up and take a ride through the greatest hits of classic Chevy muscle cars, along with a few modern contenders that continue to give the Ford Mustang a run for its money. Buckle up, folks, because it's going to be one hell of a ride. Let's fire up the time machine and zoom back to the late 60s when big and brawny muscle cars were the talk of the town, largely due to the impact of Pontiac. The Chevelle SS was flying off the shelves, but Chevy had a vision for something even bolder, even more muscular. That's when they decided to give the standard Impala SS V8 a little rest and replace it with a monster, the L72 427 V8, the same engine that roared under the hood of the 1966 Corvette. For a mere $4,000 in today's money, you could have this optional beast of an engine, capable of pumping out a whopping 425 horsepower. Paired with either a 4-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic transmission, this was a serious proposition. Ironically, despite the SS 427 now being hailed as one of the most iconic muscle cars back in the day, it was a slow seller among big block muscle cars. Today's Chevy enthusiasts can only facepalm, considering that out of over 700,000 Impalas sold in 1968, a scant 1,778 were the SS 427s. Now, let's shift gears and talk about the Impala SS, spanning from 1961 to 1969. The Impala SS was Chevy's answer to the full-sized muscle car competition. The SS, which stood for Super Sport, wasn't strictly a sports car. It was more of a personal luxury car with a bit more grunt under the hood. Earlier versions of the Impala SS sported mostly cosmetic upgrades. But with the third-generation model, Chevy stepped up its game, adding mechanical improvements to make it a formidable contender in the muscle car field. They beefed up the suspension system and nestled a 5.7-liter V8 under the hood. They also fitted wider tires for that all-important extra grip. The SS 427, which we just talked about, was the rarest gem of the lot. But these regular production option models, available as a convertible or hardtop coupe, and with an optional Monte 4-speed transmission, were some of the most sought-after rides of their time. Zooming into the 1980s, the Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS made its grand entrance. Born out of the success of General Motors' mid-sized Monte Carlo, it was in 1983 that this vehicle finally got the coveted SS badge. Now, you might consider the Monte Carlo SS more of a pony car than a full-blown muscle car, but Chevy listened to the fans, and the fans wanted power. So, Out went the 3.8 V6, and in its place, Chevy slotted a 5.0-liter V8, producing a modest 170 horsepower. It may have had the same power as the previous turbocharged V6 non-SS Monte Carlo, but it still enjoyed quite a bit of success. It was Chevy's attempt at injecting some excitement into the Monte Carlo, and boy, did it work. Though it was arguably not their best effort, Chevy enthusiasts today will still pay top dollar for an 80s Monte Carlo SS. It's safe to say that if you get your hands on one, you'd better know how to take care of a classic. Next up, let's talk about the 1968 Chevrolet Camaro Z28. When it comes to the Camaro, we've got a soft spot for both the classic and modern models. But for now, let's focus on the '68 Camaro Z28, arguably the quintessential Chevy classic car. This one's instantly recognizable and comes with a great backstory to boot. Originally, the Z28 was intended to be a one-off, track-only beast built specifically for the GM of Chevrolet, Pete Estes. But fate intervened, and Chevy decided to put it up for sale. Their confidence was probably buoyed by the introduction of disc brakes for the first time the previous year. Equipped with a 302 cubic inch V8, the Z28 was claimed to produce 290 horsepower, but in reality, it was known to churn out a lot more. With a quarter-mile time of 14.8 seconds, it was fast even by today's standards. Sure, it might not outpace modern muscle cars like the Mustang GT500 or the Dodge Demon, but it'll certainly leave a few modern hot hatches in its dust. There's a strong argument for this being not just the world's favorite Camaro, but possibly the greatest of all '60s Chevy muscle cars. Let's now take a journey to 1968 to meet the Chevrolet El Camino SS. Sure, the second-generation El Camino looked a bit more polished, but it was only in the third generation that the El Camino SS made its grand debut, and only for a single model year at that. What makes this one stand out? Most muscle cars, as you know, are thrillingly easy to skid around corners. But the El Camino, thanks to its unique pickup body, took that a notch higher. With minimal weight over the rear wheels, it was all too easy to get those tires smoking even with a gentle tap on the gas pedal. Launched in 1968, the SS model came as a $444 package. It was equipped with a 396 cubic inch V8, available in 3 power options: 325, 350, or 375 horsepower. A Muncie 3-speed was part of the standard deal, but you could upgrade to a Muncie 4-speed for an additional cost. Next on our list, we have the 1964 Chevrolet Nova SS, one of the smallest muscle cars ever produced. Some might argue that it's more of a sporty sedan than a pony car, but one spin in the Nova SS, and you'll realize it wasn't built for nimble cornering, a classic muscle car trait. The Nova SS saw several iterations. It first hit the streets in 1964, sporting a 4.6-liter V8 under the hood. But with a mere 196 horsepower, customers craved more Chevy muscle. A few months later, Chevy answered by tweaking the engine to deliver 220 horsepower. Still, it wasn't enough. Despite Chevrolet's reluctance to pack a larger V8 under the hood, fearing the car couldn't handle more than 400 horsepower, the 396 V8 became the only option for a few years. But then, in a twist of irony, dyno tests later showed this engine actually belted out more than 400 horsepower, meaning Chevy unintentionally broke its own rules. Over time, the Nova SS fell out of favor. The 1960s Impala gained more popularity, and the emergence of more powerful Camaros further drew customers away from the Nova. By 1968, the Nova SS became a package deal. If ordered, Chevy would send you an SS equipped with a 350 V8 with 295 horsepower, a beefed-up suspension setup, and a few badges to proudly declare its top model status. Next, we're revving up to the 1968 Chevrolet Chevelle SS. Chevy offered the Chevelle SS 396 from 1966 to 1968, and in 1969, it became an optional package. The Chevelle SS stands as one of Chevy's most appealing two-door muscle cars, and the 68 redesign only heightened its allure. The 68 model came equipped with a 396 V8, a robust suspension, and wider tires. Chevy also offered several optional features, such as disc brakes, racing stripes, and posi traction, Chevy's catchy term for a limited slip differential. The base engine cranked out 325 horsepower, but for an extra $105, you could upgrade to the L34 version, kicking up the horsepower to 350. At the top of the range sat the L78, boasting big port heads and a Holley 4-barrel carburetor. This powertrain generated 375 horsepower, delivered to the rear wheels through a 3-speed manual or 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, let's shift gears to the Chevrolet Corvette C1. This first-generation Corvette was more of a pony car than a muscle car, and certainly not the sports car its successors would become. However, these early models are now valued treasures. Initially, Chevy took its time deciding on the right powertrain for the first generation. For 2 years, it was sold with a 150 horsepower inline-six engine. But in 1955, Chevrolet broadened its engine options, offering a 265 cubic inch small block V8 in the base model. In 1956, the Corvette underwent a facelift, which in reality was more like a full-body makeover. The V8 was expanded to 283 cubic inches, pumping out a robust 283 horsepower. The final facelift came in 1962 when Chevy graced the first Corvette with a 327 cubic inch V8 engine. The standard output was rated at a respectable 250 horsepower, but with optional fuel injection, power could be boosted to a whopping 360 horsepower. The first Corvette made such a lasting impression that it's one of only 2 names that have endured throughout Chevy's history. Now, let's hit the fast-forward button and enter the realm of contemporary Chevy muscle with one of the all-time greats, the 2023 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. This monster is more a sports car than a muscle car, thanks to its supercharged 6.2-liter small-block V8 engine. While it might not be the most sophisticated engine on the planet, it delivers an astounding 650 horsepower and equal torque. This beast is also available as a convertible, though this does impact its structural rigidity. The Camaro ZL1 is more than just a car, it's a track-ready behemoth. It's so fierce that it's been banned in the UK, and that only makes us love it more. Straddling the line between muscle car and sports coupe, it finds its rival in the Shelby Mustang GT350, our top pick for the greatest Mustang of all time. As standard, the ZL1 comes equipped with magnetic dampers, an electronic limited slip differential, an adjustable stabilizer bar, and Brembo brakes. And if you crave something even more hardcore, consider the 1LE package, which throws in several intense aerodynamic components. Next up is the 2023 Chevrolet Corvette Z06. We have a soft spot for the Corvette Z06 as it represents a fresh interpretation of the muscle car. Initially, we wanted to go with the Stingray, given its more relaxed muscle car engine. However, the high-revving 5.5-liter V8 on the Z06 is just too good to ignore. Few cars offer such thrilling performance, thanks largely to Chevy borrowing some wisdom from Ferrari. Is it the best muscle car ever? Probably not. It's a bit too refined for that title. But it certainly deserves a spot among the best Chevy muscle cars. Its flat-plane crank V8 might stir up some controversy, but who cares? It sounds absolutely amazing, revving all the way up to a staggering 8,600 RPM. It's a car that's been known to outperform rivals that cost several times more, living up to one of the essential characteristics of a great muscle car. It may sound a bit different than the cross-plane V8s on this list, but it still captures the very essence of the muscle car spirit. And with that, our high-octane journey comes to an end. Thank you for joining us as we explored Chevy's iconic muscle car legacy. Stay tuned for more automotive adventures, and until next time, keep those engines revving.